Hi, my name is Susan Yates and I'm an artist, author and huge collector of art supplies. That's right, I think that collecting sketching, drawing and painting supplies is a hobby in itself. And I love browsing through an art shop to find that perfect new pen or that paint colour that I just can't live without. Now, one of the problems with buying lots of new art supplies is deciding where and how to store them. So today in this video, I wanted to show you around my little home art studio and show 5 of my favourite ways to organise my art materials and supplies. Plus, if you hang around till the end of the video, I will share with you a really important reason into why these methods in particular are the best ways for storing your art materials. So, come on in. Okay, so the first method that I like to use for storing my art materials is using cups, jars and pots for storing things like pencils, paintbrushes and pens. So I've got here a number of little pots and some of these are handmade ceramic. So this is a ceramic pot that I made myself. So inside it I store a lot of my pencils and pens and various bits and pieces that I need to hand. I also love buying different mugs and pots from ceramicists that I know. So to pick up a unique handmade piece of art and then store my pens in it, it's really pleasing. Now, if you're anything like me, I get bought mugs all the time from friends and family. And so this is a great way to reuse and recycle these pots and store pencils inside. What I tend to do is store one particular brand of pencil in each different pot or jar. So in here, for example, I have the Derwent Inktense pencils so that I know when I want to use them, they're stored in this particular cup. And in this jar here, I store my favourite brushes that I use in my sketchbooks all the time. It's a selection of very small, fine, detail paintbrushes that I might use for like outlines or tiny details in watercolour, as well as big flat brushes and everything in between. And as a final tip with these jars, I like to store them on shelves and on the top of units so they're easily accessible when I want to reach them and use them. So for my second way that I love to store art materials, I'm over in the corner of my studio over here, and I'd like to show you my pegboard. It's a really simple pegboard that's been popped on the wall, and I love using this for storing paints. So in this pegboard, I have a number of little hooks that are popped in there, and then many of the paints that I use have little holes on the top, and I could just pop these onto the paints. For those paints that don't have little holes on the top, I just pop on a little bulldog clip onto the top of the paint. I can pop it on the hook and the paints are stored there. It means that I can easily see all the paint colours, grab them when I want them. But the other benefit of this method is that the paint tubes are hung this way round, meaning the paint comes to the end. So it's a little bit like a tube of toothpaste. You don't want it stored this way up where the paint is at the end. It doesn't come out, but stored this way up, meaning when you undo the paint comes out nice and easily. You can also do this with a pinboard. So if you just get a cork board, you can put in simple drawing pins and again use this method where you have a bulldog clip on the end of the paint and hang it up on the wall. Super fun and super enjoyable way to store your materials. Now for storage method number 3, I would like to introduce you to my tiny plastic shelves. Now these shelves on the wall here are made of acrylic, so they are clear plastic, and they were designed initially as nail varnish storage shelves. But I tell you what, they fit these tiny bottles of ink really carefully and really perfectly. I love to line these up in colour order. I have this beautiful rainbow of watercolour paints and inks, acrylic inks, all sorts of drawing inks that go on these shelves here that I can store, and they are visually pleasing. The shelves are quite discreet, but yet I can see and grab the materials really easily. So have a little look, see if you can find some tiny storage shelves like these that fill a small space but allow you access to things like bottles of ink very easily. Okay, so for the next method of storing art materials, I like to make use of recycled boxes and tins. So when I order things or I get biscuits delivered, they come in tins and boxes of all sorts of shapes and sizes. And I like to snaffle these away into my art studio, onto my desk that I work on, to store my various paints, pens and other art materials. And the reason I do this is because number one, it recycles and reuses something that may have been ending up in landfill, recycling or the bin, but I get to keep it and use it to store art materials. It also means that these are easily movable and transferable around my studio or my desk, or if I'm going to sit outside and work, or in the lounge or the kitchen table, I can grab a box of materials, take it with me, it's portable, accessible, it's really nice and convenient, and it moves around to whatever area I want to work on. And again, I tend to store stuff by type, so I would store all of my acrylic paints in one box, all of my gouache paints in another box, soft pastels, oil pastels, all in different boxes and tins, and they range from the teeny tiny little boxes, perhaps little mint boxes where I will put a couple of sticks of charcoal to take out and about with me, to much bigger boxes to store things that I have lots and lots of. So maybe try saving some boxes yourself and storing your art materials in all sorts of fun, funky and lovely boxes and tins. Now, my fifth and final favourite way to store my art materials is a little bit traditional, and that is in a pencil case. But it's not just a pencil case. I have all sorts of pencil cases of all shapes, sizes, colours and types. And these range from clear plastic pencil cases where I can see the items so I can locate what I want conveniently, to ones that I've made myself. So for example, this is a fabric zipper pouch that I've made myself for carrying things around with me, to all sorts of waterproof bags, pencil cases, all sorts of things, some of which I buy myself, some which get bought for me. And inside I store all sorts of art materials. I love a pencil case. There's something very pleasing about undoing the zip, seeing what's inside, rifling around for what you want, and then sketching and drawing and filling those sketchbooks till your heart is content. So I hope you enjoyed this little mini tour around my home art studio today, where I showed you 5 of my favourite ways to store my art materials and supplies. Now this leads me into sharing with you the tip or the bonus bit of advice that I mentioned at the very start of the video as to why these methods in particular are the ones I wanted to highlight as being the best ways to store your art materials, because they have a really important reason why to boost your creativity. And the reason these methods work in particular is because they help to organise your materials in a way that is easy to see, is organised, visually pleasing, and also, importantly, accessible. In other words, when you want to sketch, draw, paint, or create in any way at all, you can see your materials, they're at your fingertips, and you can get sketching straight away. So whether your materials are on tiny little shelves behind you, your paint colours are all arranged that you can grab them straight away, or even when your pencils are just in your bag, they're right there in one of your many, many pencil cases. Your materials are not hidden away, out of sight and out of mind. So have some fun reorganising your art supplies. And if you have any funky ways that you do store your art materials that I didn't mention in the video here earlier, then please do share in the comments below. I love to hear all your ideas and suggestions. Now, if you want some ideas for how to actually use these art materials and get sketching, do have a browse through some of the videos here on my YouTube channel. And if you are starting a sketchbook for the first time or coming back to drawing and creating after a break, take a look in particular at my video, How to Start a Sketchbook After a Break. Happy sketching everybody, and have a lot of fun sorting out your art materials.